So today I have Kirsten Elkins with me, and she is a birth mom, and she is going to talk to us a little bit about her, how it was coming into this on the other side of adoption, because there are a lot of people that I've talked to who are adoptive parents. So I'm really excited to get a different perspective and to hear from an adoptive mom. And so thanks for being here, and thanks for being willing to talk to us. I'm really excited that we get to hear this. It's going to be really nice to have a perspective from a different angle than what we have had. So first, if you would just give us a little bit and let us know, like, how did it come about that how did you get into the process of adoption? How did that look from your side?
So, well, first of all, I wrote a little disclaimer that I want to kind of address here, that anything I talk about, this is my experience, and I promise I am not going to make it through without crying. So that's
I didn't either.
So I am only an expert on my experience. I can't speak to anyone else's experience. I'm a white, cis, heterosexual female, so I already come from a privileged position. And any like names or whatever that I do talk about, I have gained permission from them to talk about. I haven't talked with the father for years and years, and so I'm not going to share his name because I haven't talked with him. So yeah, so okay, back to your question. I forgot what it was. I'm so sorry.
How did it get into, like, what did it look like from your perspective as a birth mom coming into the adoption system?
Okay, so this was lots and lots of years ago, like at least 15 years ago that this all happened. So we came into the process, because at first we were high school sweethearts. And so we were still together. We were together all through the pregnancy, all through the whole adoption. And it was after we had given up Bryce, little Bryce, that's his name, my adoptive son. We were still together even after we gave him up. So at first I wanted to get married, but his father gave him like a come to Jesus because we were only 18 and neither of us obviously had a college education. Neither of us really had any we were both working in minimum wage jobs. So it was here's the logistics. You've now brought a life, are making this life. And how are you going to afford to raise this child? Where are you going to live? How are you going to take care of it? And it was just the logistics of this is not going to work. And so this was something that it's one of those experiences that you have to grow up fast. So I went from being a normal teenager to having to be an adult and make hard adult decisions, like immediately. There was no transition. There was just, here's life. You've got to make some decisions. So we talked it over and we decided, you know what? Yeah, let's adopt. We're not in a place that we can really take care of a child, and we can help someone else start a family that otherwise can't. So yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah. And how did you decide? Did you choose an agency to place the baby through?
Yeah, the only thing that we knew about at the time was LDS Family Services. So that was, this was also old enough that internet and Google was, so it was 2004 is when I had Bryce. So, internet was still there, but like, I wasn't it wasn't even on my radar. It wasn't even in my awareness that I could go and look for any other agencies. So LDS was the only thing I knew about. And so that's just what we did. That was the only thing. That was the only thing that I even knew about.
And so did you choose the parents, and were you shown profiles and you read through them? How did that go?
So we went into the adoption or LDS just knowing that that's what we wanted to do. So it was a couple sessions in. They wanted to do like a get to know you session, and then, here are some options for you. Obviously abortion, with LDS beliefs, abortion was never even brought up, and it was never even on my radar. I never even thought about it. So it was a few sessions in before they literally handed us a stack like this big of, boom, here are people. And it was just everyone was in like those plastic like sheet protectors.
Uh-huh.
That was, here is a 1-page snapshot of this couple / family and why we want to adopt, and here's some of our hobbies, and here's a little bit about us. And so we looked through, I feel like we looked through a lot. But it came back to Jay and Wendy were the very first ones that we saw, and we just kept going back to them. And so that's kind of who we felt like most reflected us as a couple, that were the closest to us, personality wise, from, as much as you can get from one piece of paper and a picture. And so that's just who we went with.
And did you get to meet them before you said for sure, yes, this is who we want the baby to go to?
Yeah, we did. Everything was set up through LDS. And so they were very good about any kind of like structure. Everything was done through LDS as a medium. We were not allowed to exchange any kind of information. We did do an open adoption, but there was no exchange of information until Bryce was either, I can't remember now because it's been so long, if it was either 6 months or a year. I want to say one of those. So everything, we did meet with them 2 or 3 times before the actual birth, and just, it was, for an hour, just talk, get to know them a little bit more. And then again at the hospital, giving them a baby. And then, everything after that, I actually still have all of their letters in a little file box in my cabinet. I'm old enough that I still have a cabinet. Small one, only 2 drawers, not the 4-drawer one.
Yeah.
So we just exchanged letters for a year, and then after that we've stayed in contact.
And did they have any other children at the time?
They did not. I actually remember that they'd been married for like over a decade at that point, and they still hadn't been able to have any children. So Bryce was their first child. And then when the funny thing was, Bryce was 3 months old, and guess who got pregnant?
It seems like that happens. It's just funny how that so can happen sometimes. But
yep. So they have the 2, and they're, not quite Irish twins, but they're like 13 months apart or something like that. So they're really close in age. And his 2 little brothers.
Oh, that's so funny. And when you decided, what were some factors that you were looking for? I know you said that you felt like they were similar to your personality. Were there factors that you were like, these are a must that I have to have in some parents? Did you have any guidelines for kind of what you felt like you wanted?
No, not necessarily. I felt like, and maybe this is a little bit, it's going to sound harsher than what I mean, but as I went through and saw profiles of people who already had a child, I felt like, to me, in that moment and in an 18-year-old brain, I felt like, you already have a child. I'd rather give a child to someone who doesn't have one. And so at my line of thinking then, that was kind of a disqualifier, I guess. I don't know. I felt like maybe it was more of like the hobbies. I felt like the hobbies that they had at that point in time, like Jay liked to do woodworking, and my dad likes to work in wood. My dad is a woodworker and a wood carver. They also, if I remember right, and this is, years ago again. I'm now 35. So this was when I was 18. So long time ago. I feel like Jay liked cars, and the dad, the baby's father, loved, like, that was his thing, was cars. And Wendy did like the same kind of handiwork that I grew up with, like cross stitching and crocheting. So it was, at that point in time, that's kind of what was on my radar, was what are your hobbies? What are your interests? And so I felt like that just kind of jived. I don't know. And it was also something that, there was something about it I just can't explain. Like, I still can't explain it to this day. Like, it just felt like, these are the guys. These are the people.
Yeah. And I have felt that too. When I asked our birth mom, why did you choose us?
Mm-hmm.
She said, I just felt like you were right. And there were things, of course, that she liked, but she said, when I saw you, I just was like, this feels right. These
Mm-hmm.
feel like the right family.
Yeah.
So I think that's, you listen to your gut. And
Yeah.
I think that's an important thing when you're doing this, is to really listen about where you're being led. And that doesn't mean, because sometimes maybe some people will start the process and then they feel like this isn't right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to say this isn't right, and to remove yourself from that process if that's what you're really feeling inside. Then that's an okay option as well.
Yeah.
I really do believe that is okay. But if you're going through it and you feel like, yes, this is where I need to go, these feel like the right family, then that's right. And there isn't one right answer for anyone. And so I really feel you
super individual. Yeah.
to your gut and what you're feeling. And you said that who you're with at the time, he helped too. So he was a part of that decision as well.
Yeah, it was definitely an us decision. It wasn't more him than me. I felt like it was both of us the whole time, the whole way through.
And you said you also have an open adoption. So for someone who might not know what that means, is an open adoption is where you can have contact back and forth between the birth family and the child. And that is, you can have it just be completely open, where you can see each other and you can set up times where you can visit, or it can be semi-open where you're writing letters and sending pictures, or you can have it closed where there's not any contact. And you mentioned that yours was open. And do you feel like that helped you to be able to move forward, to kind of see him grow up?
I think so. One of the personality traits of both me and Jay and Wendy is we're very much like, we don't want to bother you. We kind of want to let you live your own life. And so I think there was also a lot of peace of mind, just knowing that I could, just knowing that there was a possibility, but at the same time, I very much wanted to respect their privacy. I wanted to respect them and their whatever decisions. Yeah. Did that answer the question?
Yeah. And do you think, so I think I saw that you talked with or met with him recently.
Yeah, just not Sunday, but last Sunday. We actually went over to their house for dinner, which is not the first time. We've been over to their house more than once. They've been here to our house. So yeah, we've gotten together more, I think, in the last couple years, just because I think the kids are getting older. So They have 2 and I have 3. So altogether I have had 4 children. So Bryce is, he's now 16, and Eliza, my oldest, is almost 14. So they are actually going to be in the same high school for 1 year, which is going to be so cool. And then I have Ivy and Zeke that are 6 and almost 4. So they all just know that they're siblings, and that's just kind of how they've all grown up. Obviously, Ivy and Zeke are still a little bit too little to understand what that means, but Eliza and Bryce just, they love that they have this other sibling, and yeah.
And do you feel like it's healing for Bryce as well to have some contact and relationship with you?
I don't know. I know that for them, and that was, I could think that maybe was a little bit more important to me or maybe it wasn't important to me until they said that they wanted to raise Bryce as just knowing that he was adopted. Like it wasn't going to be this big secret. It was just going to be just part of him. My brain mom brain is a real thing. It never came back after my 4-year-old. Plus I was working night shifts, and man, I'm sorry, I forgot what your question was.
Do you feel like it's helped him come to terms with his adoption, having some relationship with you?
I'm not sure. He also is autistic, super, very high functioning, but he's still autistic. And so I can't speak to that. I don't know.
Okay. That's fine.
So?
Yeah, I know so obviously with my children who are adopted, they are Black. So it would be,
which I think is so cool, by the way.
It would be really silly for me to try to pretend that they were not adopted.
Yeah.
But I feel so importantly that it is important that they know, and that it's not a secret, because I feel like if we keep it a secret, it feels like something's wrong.
Right.
And then they find out and they're like, oh, there's something wrong. Why wouldn't they have told me if it's this big secret?
Yeah.
There's something obviously wrong with it. Hi. But I feel
Shanna. Can you say hi?
Hi, Shanna.
Hi. How are you? You have pretty red hair.
Oh, it's like a light brown.
Oh, it's looking
But
really
it's
red
just
here.
lighting.
But it's
Yeah.
pretty anyway.
My
Pretty
mom
brown too.
It's almost black, huh? Okay, go back downstairs. Love you. I know, but I'm on this phone call, okay?
My son did that last time.
That's children, right?
Yeah. But I feel like, yeah, that's an important thing. And I really liked that they decided to tell him and to raise him that way, because I feel like it's very much, it's okay. And it's an okay thing to be. And if we try to hide it, it feels like something is wrong with that. And so that's that's my opinion. But that's kind of what I've seen with other adoptive parents and children. If they find out when they're old, it's a lot harder for them to adjust.
Absolutely. I actually have a coworker that, I don't know if she knew that she was adopted, but like she found out that she was, it was very traumatizing to find out that not only am I adopted, but they lived here and I have 5 other siblings who are also all adults. Like I've seen that personally. That's very hard on an adult to find that out later.
Yeah. So if you could give another birth mom some advice who is trying to make the decision about if they should place their baby or not, what would you tell them?
I would tell them, it is not selfish to give up a baby. It is not selfish. It is actually very, very selfless. My experience, I did I don't know how much of my own personal whatever you want to go into, but the circle of people that I had in my life at that time was not very supportive, and not very, not only not supportive, but not kind of judgmental. And so for me, it was, for my own psyche, it hurt for a lot of years. I have a friend, a very close friend, who is also a birth mom, and for her, she had a circle of people that just surrounded her with love, and so it turned into this much more beautiful experience, like immediately, than it has for me, that it's taken me years. So I would tell someone who's potentially thinking about being a birth mom that it is not selfish to give up a baby. It is selfless, and to be true to what you feel, and you know, like, if you know that this is something that you should do, be true to that. Listen to your inner voice. That is really what is telling you you should do. Don't listen to the naysayers. Don't listen to the people who are going to put their judgment on you. No matter what, you're going to get judged, whether it's one way or the other. That's going to happen. And as long as you are okay with whatever you choose within yourself, that is really what matters. Because all those people may or may not be in your life forever, but you will be in your life forever. And you have to be okay, truly okay with your decision. It's really a beautiful thing. This couple could never have had a child if I hadn't helped them start their families.
And I know, coming from the other side, how grateful I am that someone allowed me the opportunity to parent their children. And I was really lucky in my experience that our birth mom and us get along well, and that it was a positive experience for us. But it's still a really hard decision.
It is.
And it's one that's very personal. And so I think that you are right on in saying that it's your choice, and you have to be okay to live with the choice that you make. And if you know in your heart that it's okay, or that that's whatever way it is that you need to go, that you go with that. And I would hope that there would be support and love.
I do feel like society has changed a lot for the better when it comes to these kind of things since my experience. Mine was 2003, 2004. Where I feel like we have come a long way in just being more loving of people who make different decisions than we were at that point in time. So I feel like, and again, it also depends on your circle of people, but in general, I feel like people are better.
And that's one of the things that I want too, because it really is, I want just to bring more awareness to the whole thing, that there are so many hard things with adoption. I don't want to glaze over that and say everything is rosy and beautiful, because there are hard things, lots of hard things.
Yeah.
For both sides.
Yeah.
It's hard. But I truly believe that it's also worth it.
Absolutely.
And that these children deserve love, and they deserve a family, whether that's with the family that has them or another family. They deserve a loving family and the opportunity for success and development, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
And I would also say that it's okay to grieve.
Absolutely.
As a birth mom, you can take your time to grieve, and you can grieve how you need to grieve. Do you feel, what would you say to that?
Well, I once had someone say that it's kind of like parents who lose a child. I mean, it's not the same, but it's super similar, right? You have had this life in you for 9 months. you have this cute little baby and you decide to let someone else raise him or her. And it is, yeah, absolutely a grieving process. Absolutely. And it's one of those, you absolutely go through all the different 5 stages of grief. And it's not just you cycle through them once, you cycle through it again and again. And the waves get smaller and they get further in between as time passes. It does get easier. Time makes things easier. For me, especially with the open adoption, I think I don't think I ever considered a closed adoption. I think it would maybe have eaten at me more just with my personality had I done a closed adoption, but open has been great and wonderful. Can I go on a little tangent for a second?
Sure.
Had I not given up Bryce, I would not be where I am today. Little Bryce developed autism. He also developed some other mental health things. He also developed diabetes when he was a baby, and I would not have been able to take care of him in the way that he needed. I would not have physically been able to take care of him. The way that Jay and Wendy were able and prepared to. Like, I didn't have insurance. They have insurance. My oldest Eliza actually also has diabetes. And so it's expensive. It's expensive. I would not have been able to go to school to become what I am today. I would not have a career that I love. I would not be where I am today and have the awesome life that I have now had I not given him up. My life would be completely different. And I feel like not only is Bryce in a better place, but I am in a better place as well.
And that makes me feel very happy that you feel good about your decision and that you feel like that was the right thing for you and your family and for this little baby at the time. And I know that that's not always the case, and that's why it's so hard, but that there is healing and there is light on the other side of it for both sides.
Yes.
And so I love that. And thank you so much for being open and being honest and sharing. I know that these are really difficult experiences. They're really personal and it's hard to share.
Yeah.
But I think that it's going to be so beneficial, maybe not even for a birth mom. Hopefully a birth mom will hear this and it will help her. But for someone who's looking into adopting, of thinking of these things, of seeing the other side. And I know that when the first time we adopted with my son Milo, I was super excited to get this baby, but I didn't realize what it meant for my birth mom until she left. And it crushed me. It was so hard. And I didn't realize how much that would affect me and how kind of selfish I had been in not thinking more of her. And so when she asked us to take Ani and we went back, I tried to be as generous and as gracious and as thankful as possible to her and to like make it about her. So when we went into the hospital room, of course I was excited that Ani was there, but I wanted to acknowledge her first. And I wanted to talk to her first and see how she was doing and how she was feeling and make her feel like I care about you too. And because I understand a tiny bit, I mean, I can't even understand, but I understand a tiny bit of what happened last time when you left. And it was heartbreaking. So thank you for being willing to put yourself out there and to help us give some more perspective on what happens to get that baby where it's going.
Well, and
actually, go ahead.
Well, just your perspective over time changes too, right? Like, this is how I feel about it now. 5 years ago, I was fairly similar. And 10 years ago, I would have felt even more different. Like, it's taken time for me to get to this point where I am actually public about being a birth mom. It's taken time for me to get to this point where and who knows where I'll be in 5 years? Who knows what I'll think about it in 5 years? I'll probably even more think it's amazing because, but your perspective will change over time, both ways, both sides, I'm sure. And it's okay to be wherever you are. It's okay.
Yeah. And I've said so many times, you're raising a child. So, and even if you're not, you're still a part of his life, and you still want the best for him. And and there are ups and downs on that road daily. No matter what child it is, you are, those emotions, you ride them as a parent. It's very overwhelming sometimes. So allow yourself some grace and some it's okay maybe that I'm not feeling great today about this, or that I'm in a good place. It's gonna, because that's just life, right? It's gonna go up and down. So and that time I think is important to allow yourself, it's gonna take time, and to know that it's okay that you're not okay right away. Is good too. So anyway, if there's anything else that you would like to say or share with us, you're welcome to do that now.
No, I think it's actually super awesome how you made sure to include their birth mom and acknowledge her sacrifice. Like, that I think is amazing, because I would say too, to other adoptive parents, do that. Because it's hard.
And I wish that I would have been more aware the first time, but I it was like I had another opportunity the second time with the same birth mom. And
when I remember
a lot more aware.
I remember going home and still having my milk still came in. I still had to deal with engorged boobs. I still had to deal with, now my body looks like I've had a baby, but I don't have one. Like, I still, it doesn't end just when you go home. And still have all the extra skin from having babies and shrunken boobs, because my other ones have sucked them away.
I never had any to begin with.
I have none now anyway.
But and after I had my son Nash, and I went through, the first time I had ever been pregnant, and I went through that, it gave me so much more perspective of what she had been through, because I had never had a baby. I'd never carried a baby. I could hear and talk, but when you experience it for yourself, it's different. And so then again, it was after I had Nash, after I had adopted Milo, that Ani came, and there was just that so much more appreciation and so much gratitude for what she had done. And so, I think if we can remember that, and even if we know someone who is a birth mom, and we haven't adopted the baby, but we know someone who is a birth mom, give them some extra love.
Absolutely.
Give them some hugs. Be there for them, because it is hard. And I'm sure that I wish that you would have had more support during that time. I wish there would have been someone who could.
My circle of friends
held your hand.
To one. I have one friend that stayed with me. Everyone else, it was just poof, gone. So I absolutely, if you know someone in that, give them the love, because that means the whole world. It means the whole world.
So thank you again for sharing and for being open and honest with us. I really do appreciate it, and I really do, I'm so grateful for this perspective. I think it's very, very valuable for anyone in the adoption process to understand both sides a little bit more. And of course, we can never understand fully anyone else's experiences, but we can be generous, and we can be kind, and we can be loving, and we can be supportive. And I really believe that that is, the world needs more of that in all aspects. So I am sending my love to you and thanking you so much for being willing to do this for me. I know it was hard, and it's a difficult thing to talk about. So thank you for doing that.
Thank
And
you.
I hope that you have a great day.
You too.